All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ Podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. This is a Kiss-related podcast by the board, for the board. We hope that you enjoy. Welcome to episode 243 of the KissFAQ Podcast. I'm your host, Julian Gill, admin on the KissFAQ message board, and today our panel consists of Daniel Wees.
Hello.
69 Blizzard Ken.
Hello.
And Marcus Almighty Mark. Gentlemen,
hello, everybody.
Thank you very much for joining us for another episode of the KissFAQ Podcast. Let's just get into some news. And this week, I guess the big news is Peter Criss, Miami, signing for the pre-cruise event at the Holiday Inn. Let's make this very clear. There are two events happening in Miami as part of the pre-cruise festivities, neither of which I'll be attending, you bastards. One is at the Radisson, organized by Joe D'Angelo. We've had him on the podcast with updates, which will have Ace Frehley, Sebastian Bach, a whole bunch of so much. I mean, you got to find him on Facebook. And then Andy and his Living in Sin at the Holiday Inn gets Peter. So we don't get a Bad Boys reunion, but both of them will be there, so that's very cool. I think we'll probably have some updates on that Peter Criss appearance. Hopefully in the next week or so with details about it, and if not, you can look it up on Facebook for the official word from those who actually know something rather than me. Any other news in Kiss World? Yeah, the samples of Paul Stanley's Backstage Pass are now available for reading on the iBook platform. It starts off with a very brutal line, but context is everything. You've got to read it rather than just react to any screen captures of that first line and paragraph or everything. I'm actually very interested in this book now. It should be interesting. I think it was 32 pages were available in the sample, so 2 chapters worth should give you a good idea. Finally, Indie Expo. My book order is in, so the exclusive printing of On Tour, End of the Road Leg 1, 100 copies, only available at Indie, is finalized. So no doubt they'll release some more box scores over the next few days, and then I'll be annoyed. But I can't do anything about it to report it. But it ended up being a 76-page book, which if you were part of this first leg, maybe it'll be a nice commemorative for you. All right, let's get into some recent purchases. Anyone bought any Kiss shit lately?
Yeah, I did.
What'd you get, Ken?
Well, firstly, the other day came in the mail is their number one issues of the new Kiss comic book, End of the Road thing. So they have multiple more covers than this. And I like these two, and so I picked those up. And then today in the mail, and it's funny, is I thought I forgot to order it, so I'm going to have a second one coming now because I ordered again. But anyway, I got the 45th anniversary.
Have you opened it to check how good your marbling effect is? Because I've seen a lot of threads. I saw Tom's photo, and it's like one tiny little pellet of black, and I'm like, okay, that's pathetic. Yeah. But
fortunately, mine is not too bad. It's not perfect, but it has some more. Guess a little bit more.
That looks better than the ones I've seen.
Yeah, that looks marbly to me. I mean, maybe I've seen real marble and other people haven't, but it's okay.
So I have another one coming because, again, I couldn't find that I ordered it, and so I thought I didn't order it. So then I placed another order, so that'll be coming probably next week, I'm going to guess. But yeah, the cover is a nice. It's flat. It's not the glossy cover.
The matte cover?
It's matte. That's right. And what I did too is I took the sticker that was on the outside shrink wrap and I put it on here. Since I knew I was going to have a second one coming, the other one's I'm not going to do that. But I put that hype sticker there,
Mm-hmm.
and then I put the other sticker that was a limited edition, which is also on the shrink wrap there. So, but the other one I'm going to leave intact, more or less.
So you basically vandalized it.
You know, I don't know. I just thought, you know what? I didn't know where else to put it because they put it in a nice, the rice paper mark. They did that right. At least they did something. But there's nothing else on the inside. I mean, it would have been nice if they put a lyric sheet or something.
Yeah, I don't know why it doesn't dawn on people to do this stuff. It's like, I don't know.
Come on.
Maybe I expect too much.
It's a low budget operation. Come on. Vinyl has become basically a gouging point because it does not cost that much. Actually, maybe Jason can correct us because he works in the industry. But I'd be very surprised if it's not all about the markups being an absolutely outrageous markup for modern vinyl pressings, especially when a lot of them are sourced from shitty quality.
Well, let's put it this way: if I can afford to put in a single-page sheet, anti-static sleeve, a poster, and all kinds of stuff, and still give it to you for like $30, and these guys are selling it for almost the same price with nothing in it, what does that tell you?
It tells you a lot.
or that they're pressing more copies of theirs than you are of yours.
Yeah, but still,
that's why they're making much more money.
But then again,
thousands
economy
versus...
of scale. I guess there is no excuse. I just know I feel better buying something from Mark, to be honest, than Universal. But that's always the same. I'd rather buy a friend's music product than anything. All right, so I went to Record Store Day for the first time ever. I've never gone because I hate going there, and all I bought was the new the new Ace Frehley. What is this, the 89th version of this fucking album? So, but it looks good. Ken, yours is in the post. I love saying that. Also got, this is more interesting to me, a copy of The Elder from Portugal. So it comes with a dust sleeve that's like the gatefold.
Right.
It is not a gatefold, and it's got the original mix of the album on it as well, which is even more interesting. So, just really lame. Last bit on me is, by the way, Justin C. is the winner of the Classic Rock Mag giveaway from the last episode, so congratulations. Thank you to everyone who entered. I screwed everything up by creating a new website for the podcast, so there were delays in that going into like iTunes, Stitcher, Podchaser, and all those other places where it seems quite a lot of people do actually listen to it through there, so I do apologize. I can't get those to easily update. Daniel, you bought any Kiss shit lately?
Well, I usually go to the local library when they sell out this magazine. It's the one that Carl Linnaeus writes for. He's been on the show a few times. And he always writes a lot of interesting Kiss articles. So I go there and I buy like 12 of these for, I don't know, $10. And flip and look through them. And there are some pretty cool pictures, but and this one from last tour. And a good article by Carl once again. So I'm reading those.
I've never read a bad article by Carl, so
no,
knows his shit and asks the good questions. So all power to the Scandinavian Kiss Army. All right, Mark, I guess I do need to just finish this segment up with, have you bought anything by Kiss lately, or was your shopping basket nothing but other bands for Record Store Day?
I didn't buy any Kiss stuff, mainly because when I looked through the list this year, there was a few things that surprisingly caught my eye. So I, being a man of, limited means at some point in the month, I had to kind of focus on a few things that I would want. So I got the David Bowie pinups picture disc. I was really wanted. I'm a big Bowie guy, and I got the what was the other picture disc I got? I just told you guys too.
Rush.
Oh yeah, the Rush. The Rush Hemispheres. How can I forget that?
How does a Canadian forget Rush? That's just wrong.
That's very strange. Must be something in my water today. So yeah, I got the Rush Hemispheres, the 40th anniversary picture disc. Doesn't sound very good, but it looks good. And being a Rush fan, I gotta have it anyways. Right? And plus, I have much better copies to listen to, anyways.
Exactly.
And then, of course, the big buy for me was the I think it's the 50th anniversary of the debut Yes album. Came out on orange vinyl, and that sounds really, 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 really good. Kevin Gray did it. He remastered it, so it sounds fantastic. And I just very much enjoyed playing that over the last couple of days. So those have been my big purchases.
Nice. So let's get into today's topic, which we're just about coming up to the 40th anniversary of Dynasty, as Paul Stanley loves to say. Dynasty. Originally released in May 1979. This was Kiss's first album then, in nearly 2 years. With the release of Love Gun, they'd obviously gone into Live 2, then Double Platinum, and the solo albums. So one of the things that you noticed from reviews at the time was that it really was the return of Kiss, that it was almost like Kiss had been away. The rumor mill had abounded with, rumors of a split happening. Even in a lot of the reviews of Dynasty, they mentioned that rumors of Peter Criss being eased out as the band decides to take a more kind of musical approach, like leaning into dance territory, in which case Peter's drumming skills had been deemed unsuitable, are kind of mentioned. I mean, there's a Montreal review that says exactly that, and Rolling Stone magazine did the same. But in terms of your own personal histories, and we've heard Ken's a lot, so I'm going to go to him last. What do you recall about the first time you experienced Dynasty or material from it as a fan? And obviously, three of us on this panel are kind of, Asylum guys. So, eeny, meeny, miny, Daniel.
Well, as you said, I started off with Asylum and Animalize, and then worked my way back, like Lick It Up. But then I remember getting Dynasty and Unmasked somewhere around the same time, and didn't like the sound of them at all. So it was never one of my favorites. I was actually surprised now. I listened through it for the first time in like a decade, maybe, the other day, and I was surprised. It was a lot better than I remembered. So it was. I liked almost every song on the album now, so I don't know what happened, but I guess it has something to do with the production, sounding so soft compared to the early to mid 80s Kiss albums.
Mark, how about you? What do you recall of the first time and when you first heard this album?
Well, when I first heard it, actually, I was pretty young, because my sister, who's, like I mentioned dozens of times on this show, she's about 6-7 years older than I am. So when Dynasty came out, she bought it, and it was in the house, and I would have been like 6 years old at that point. So I do remember that I Was Made for Loving You was played in my house a lot. I don't remember it much else, because that song was constantly played by my sister. Years later, when I was getting back into Kiss when I was much older, it was a record that when I first put it on again, I kind of had like a startling effect to hearing I Was Made for Loving You again. It's like, oh no, that's that song that my sister used to always play. And so I was kind of like, oh no, not this record. But once I kind of listened to it, it started growing on me. And then now, much later, after I started getting into record production and making stuff like that, this is actually a record that's in my top 5 easily. I really like this record. And I know Daniel said that he doesn't really like it because of the production of it being kind of soft, but I really love the production on this, because to me, every time I close my eyes and listen to it, it just reminds me of New York City for some reason, this album. It has such a New York vibe to me. I really love this record.
And before we do the third Asylum guy, Ken?
Yeah, I'm not the Asylum guy.
Someone who was actually there and
I was there.
Really remembers the sequence of, I guess, going from Love Gun, Alive 2 into the Return of Kiss. I mean, we can never go back to that and experience what you must have felt when you first heard it.
Yeah, well, I went from I started with Alive 2, and then I started, getting the back catalog then of Kiss. I had the double platinum. Then the solo albums, happened, and obviously that was very diverse in in music styles, and whether some are hard rocking and some are very not hard rocking. They're pop. So it didn't shock me too much. So when I got Dynasty on the day it came out, I got it, pulled it right out of the carton at the record store before it was on the shelf, took it home, and I remember playing it. And we know the story. I played side 2 first, and I had my friends were there with me, and I was blaring it all the way from there's like a L-shaped hallway, right? And my room was there all the way at the end, and I had my record blasting all the way down from my room out of the hallway into this other living room area where we were playing video games on the TV. Luckily my mom didn't mind. She let me do that kind of stuff, so which was very cool. But I heard the first song I heard was Charisma, since I played side 2, and I thought it rocked. Yeah, it was a different kind of production, more was slicker production than their raw type of production, maybe a rock and roll over or something like that. So, but I still enjoyed it. And again, I listened to all different kinds of music, from pop to heavy stuff. So it didn't bother me. Again, as long as the music was good, that's what mattered. And so no shock, and I enjoyed it quite a bit.
I'm curious, had you heard I Was Made on the radio prior to
actually,
the album?
Yeah, I can tell you a story. We were going to, again, I was on the freeway. I can't even remember where we were on the freeway now. And over the radio, they were announcing that they were going to play a song and see if anyone could guess who was the artist. And the radio station, it was an AM station. And then they played it, and I was like, wait a minute, that sounds I didn't even recognize it as Kiss. I was like, but I recognized the voice. I'm like, wait a minute, that sounds so familiar to me. It's like, why am I not placing it? And it turned out to be, it was Kiss. And I'm like, oh, I said, yeah, that's it, that's Paul. And so I thought, what the heck are they doing? Where are they? What are they doing this music for? I thought that was kind of like, surprising to me. I was hoping they weren't going to do a whole album of that music. Fortunately, they didn't. So, but yeah, that was the first time I heard it. And then I bought the single. I'll just talk about that real quick. I bought the single for I Was Made for Loving You, but I ended up playing the B side a lot more than the A side. I was playing, which was Hard Times. Because I love that song. I thought, oh, this is really good, and so I ended up playing that one more than I Was Made for Loving You.
Right. So I don't remember where this falls into my discovery of the band, just that I bought it pretty soon after becoming a fan, because again, I was buying albums by album covers that were cool. So anything that stood out, once you've got a live and double platinum, which had more songs on it, then you start looking at the cool covers. And this, to me, has always been a cool cover. And from the moment I heard I Was Made for Loving You, which I don't recall ever hearing from moving into America in 1979, again, I've always told that story of the talent show when people were playing, Black Diamond and Deuce dressed up in tights and tinfoil. I don't have any recollection of any material from this album before I started discovering the band in 85, 86. So from the first time I heard that album, I fell in love with it. Even though it was very different than, previous albums, I thought the production really stood out as being better than Love Gun. And to this day, I think there's more dynamics in the band's sound, and it's just beautifully produced, beautifully mastered and mixed. That's always been the thing that really stood out. Even as a rock album, it was just so well balanced. It's like everything Crazy Nights could have been without polishing the edge off the song. They still had attitude, they still had edge, and at the time I didn't know anything about any of that side of things. It was just the songs were cool. I Was Made for Loving You was like really different, but it was very catchy. And as someone who I guess came into Kiss after listening to Duran Duran, Men at Work, and more melodic stuff, it worked just fine. So that's all I recall. I mean, I have no idea where it actually fits into like my top 10 of Kiss albums, or if it's even in there, but it's really fun. Daniel, let's talk about the singles. I Was Made for Loving You was the first single, came out in May 79, followed by Sure Knows Something, and then in some markets there was a third single, Dirty Livin'. Germany just flipped them around and reissued it in November. Do you think those were the right singles in the right order, or would you have released a different single?
Well, it's really just a matter of taste, but I think they picked the correct one when they started off with I Was Made for Loving You. If you think about it, Kiss haven't had that many hits around the world. At least most of them have been like ballads, like, Forever hit the top 10 in America, and Beth was a big hit, but I Was Made for Loving You isn't a ballad. I think it's very special because there's something about the chorus. It's so catchy and you remember it instantly. So it's a perfect radio song, and even though I could do without the keyboards and the flash effect, or whatever you can call it, that little sound, you should listen to the Live 3 version instead, when you have bombs going off. That's always, it's the Stanley Cup now, it's in the NHL, and I watched that, and sometimes I Was Made for Loving You comes on. And I always think the same thing, and that is, man, if they could play the Live 3 version, it would rock. But that keyboards and the flash thing really, I can't stand it. So you talk about Dynasty being so well produced and well balanced, but it's very 70s sounding, of course. And as someone who started off in the 80s, I have some problems with some of the sound effects on this album, but more on that later, I think. But I think it was the correct choice. Other than that song, I don't know. I would maybe have picked Magic Touch because I think that would go over well on the radio as well. But Sure Know Something isn't a bad pick either.
Awesome. Ken, what about you for singles and their order?
Yeah, well, it makes sense, but if it was me, I would have went a different route. Because I think you turned away a lot of. I mean, you may have gained some fans for a little while there with I Was Made for Loving You, but I think they turned away a lot of fans with I Was Made for Loving You, and especially releasing it as the lead-off single. The kind of, sometimes you'll hear the lead-off single of a group, and you just that one song, it's either make or break. If you don't like it, you're not going to buy the album, even though you don't know what the hell is on the rest of the album. You might not buy it. Give it a chance. You don't have MP3s that you can look preview to like you do today. Back then, you didn't have that kind of thing. So I would have chosen Charisma as the number one lead-off single. May have not done well. Who knows? It's more in the Dr. Love vein of things, and that did okay, right? But and then the second song I would choose, kind of like Daniel, Magic Touch. I think that's a real great, really good song, and I think it's very radio friendly. So I wouldn't have chosen I Was Made for Loving You or Show Know Something.
So I think I Was Made was a great attention grabber after a long layoff.
Oh,
But it's also a double-edged sword when people are saying Kiss goes disco. Here's the new single by Kiss. Some people may have had the impression that it was going to be a whole album of Kiss disco songs, and it was also, I guess, kind of too late at that point because you had the backlash to the disco smashing thing in Chicago. I mean, wasn't that in '79 as well? And you already had, there were other issues along with this occurring at the same time. Polygram had shut down Casablanca's overshipments of albums, so they probably wouldn't have wanted to risk anything. I thought that if, logically, the New York Groove having been a hit single from the solo albums, that they would have let off, if not, with 2000 Men. Which, again, plays on the same thing, covers. Remember also that they had planned on issuing a third single off of Live 2, Any Way You Want It, was considered to be released. That would have made it kind of 3 covers in a row that have been Kissified, and then follow it up with I Was Made for Loving You as the modern sound of Kiss, but we're going to make sure it's a rock album first. So I think where you pick Charisma, the same thing applies. Get a rock song out there first to prove to the band, prove to the fans that the band is still rocking, and then hit them with the new sound of Kiss, maybe setting a trend for the future to see how it does. Regardless, they got it right. It was a hit single. Sure Knows Something did nothing. So whether that was just a reaction to Kiss at the time, and again, a lot of reviews at the time say, kind of get the feeling that Kiss had been doing the same thing over and over and over, just with slight changes to the costumes here and there, and people were starting to get a bit burned out by them, regardless of Kiss having been off the road for 2 years. I don't think Sure Knows Something was a great single. That was probably a little bit too much in the direction of AOR, as it was called.
Yeah.
A little bit too safe, too saccharine, and that's why I wouldn't have gone with Magic Touch either. Mark, what are your thoughts on singles?
Well, I think that I Was Made for Loving You, as much as I don't really like the song, I think it was the right single to put out. Again, it was an attention grabber. And one interesting thing that I got, like an interesting perspective on this, talking back with my sister about this when she got the album, is she said that when that album came out, all in her school, every girl that she knew was buying that record because of that single. Like, that song, she said, went over big with the female branch of the Kiss fans, So I think what probably happened there was, that song might not have struck a chord too much with some of the guys, but it definitely struck a big chord with the female audience too, right? And maybe it also struck a chord with the younger, like the kids too, maybe, who knows, right? But I know that my sister said that every girl that she knew back in the day in school was buying that record for it more than any other Kiss album beforehand, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that might have been a good selection because of that, because let's face it, that kind of dance music is popular with girls too, right? So, and if you get Paul Stanley out there doing his thing, then maybe it might have even helped even a little bit more, right? So I think that on that end of it, it was probably a wise choice to put it out as the first single. Second single, I like Sure Knows Something, but I agree with you guys. I would have probably did Magic Touch over that. I think it's a better song in my opinion. It's still one of those songs that I never understood why they never played it live, because it's such a great song. They should have used it live, for years now. But, that's neither here nor there. But I think that, the first single was a good idea and obviously worked out in their favor. Second single, I would have changed it. I would have used Magic Touch.
Danny, what about the track order? I mean, how does that work for you? I mean, obviously we're all comfortable with it, as we've had the album for decades. You've got I Was Made for Loving You as the first song on side A, and then you've got Charisma, I believe, Ken, as the first song on side B. How does that all work? Will you make any changes to it, or is it just pointless?
Well, I Was Made for Loving You, as it was the lead single. I think it was wise decision to start off the record with that one. Then I think 2000 Man is the second song, and that seems to me like you were talking about, Julian, that they tried to repeat the success of New York Groove. They picked a cover and had A sing it, and maybe hope for some success. I would have put another track in the second spot, as we know, most Kiss albums have a 1-2 punch in the beginning, and I would have picked something a bit maybe more up tempo. And I actually liked another A song on the album that are completely wasted at the end of the album. It's called Save Your Love, but I've heard some rumors that the other guys, they don't like that song, but I like it. Save Your Love. I might have put that in the second spot because I think it's a great A song and one of the few great A solos on this album, because that's another thing I think this album lacks a bit. There's really no classic A solos that I hear, at least. If you think about Ace's solos, you think about the early albums. You can hum along with them. There aren't too many solos on this album that you can hum along to. So that's one thing that I think this album lacks. But Save Your Love has a solo that I remember and can hum. And that's usually a sign of a good solo.
Nice. Ken, what about you? Well, you've already got an alternative track listing, don't you, when you flip the album around and play it backwards? And you're on mute.
Am I? No, I'm not. Sorry. Yeah, well, the deal is, yes, I did play side 2 first, and actually, that's how I would arrange the album for the most part. I would have side 2 as really side 1, and then actually on For I Was Made for Loving You, I would have put that as the last song on the album. You have everything else, all the rock stuff, and then, here's that new style we're going to just throw at you and try at the end here. I put I Was Made for Loving You at the end. I just think that track order would have worked better. Just my opinion. Start off with the rock and stuff. I actually like side 2 anyway than side 1. Because side 1 you have 4 songs. You have I Was Made for Loving You, 2000 Man, Sure Know Something, right, and Dirty Livin'. So side 2 is to me a better side, much better side. And again, I Was Made for Loving You, I think should be the last song on the album. That's how I would have done it.
Sorry, just got an email of tour dates, so I'm wondering if this is real. December the 8th, Pensacola. Osaka, December the 12th. Nagoya, December 13th. Kanazawa, 15th. Tokyo, 17th. Ken, San Francisco, 28th.
20th December?
28th, which would probably be the new Chase Center, because...
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow.
30th, Sao Paulo. There's something weird with that, but we'll wait and see. So, interesting.
The Chase Center. Holy cow.
Yeah. Again, completely...
They're not done building it, guys.
Completely unconfirmed, but that just jumped out at me. So, Mark...
Yes.
What about you in terms of the tracking of this CD or album? Sorry, it's an album.
Well, this is one of those things that I love doing on here, just rearranging it in the way that I would have put it out, and I would have probably redid a lot of it actually. So my order would have been, I would have started it with Magic Touch. I think that to me is still the best song on the record. I would have opened the record with that. Then I would have put I Was Made for Loving You after it, not put the single too far away from it. I would have put Dirty Livin' third. I really like that song. I think it's not a bad song to have on side A. And I would have moved X-Ray Eyes over as the last song on side A. I don't think it's as bad as people say it is. but still not a fantastic song by any stretch. Side 2, I would have opened with Charisma. I think it's a great opening song. Then I would have put 2000 Man after it. Then I would have put Save Your Love third. And I would have put Sure Know Something as fourth on the side, and then close with Hard Times. So I know it's really Ace heavy on side 2, but I don't know. I kind of like the flow of that. I did it in my iTunes and just took a listen to it, and it has an interesting flow to it when you listen to it in that way. So I kind of like it that way.
Yeah, I can't put a revisionist hat on for this and really change much for it. I just think, going back to what I said about the singles, I would do with the album and not have I Was Made for Loving You as the lead track on side 1, which most normal people would play first, Ken. Just so that their first experience of the album isn't something different. Even though I don't think I Was Made for Loving You is that outrageous. I can't even call it disco rock or any of the stuff that it's danceable and a little bit more rhythmic, but it's not full on disco. I don't think calling it a disco song's fair to disco, to be perfectly honest. So I think I would have just put something like Hard Times as the first song on the album, something rocking, something kind of abrasive and more what most fans would have been expecting, and then hit them with the 1-2 punch. So maybe just, for that matter, just flip the first 2 songs, put 2000 Man first, and then go into I Was Made for Loving You, and then just replace Sure Know Something with something else, maybe another one of Peter's songs. Just get rid of it. It's just too syrupy. Again, we'll talk more about that song individually as we do the rankings. So that's the next part of this show, is borrowing from our good friends at the Lipstick panel, ranking the album in order from favorite, or in order from least favorite to most favorite. A point value will be assigned to each song, and then we'll add up everyone's and average them and decide what the KissFAQ panel's rating of this album was. So, Mark, why don't we start with your song selection as from least favorite to most favorite?
Okay, so we're going to go through all of them then?
Yeah, just list all 10.
Okay. So, least favorite was I Was Made for Loving You. Then next one is Save Your Love. Number 7 was X-Ray Eyes. Number 6 is 2000 Man. Number 5 is Dirty Living. Number 4 is Hard Times. Number 3 is Sure Know Something. Number 2 is Charisma. And number 1 is Magic Touch.
So Magic Touch is your favorite song on the album, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Daniel, how about you? And you're on mute.
Should we take number 10 from each guy first and then number 9, number 8? You want to do them all at once?
Do them all at once, because then we're going to discuss them song by song as we count down the panel.
No one will remember this, but number 10, X-Ray Eyes. No, not number 10. Number 9.
No,
yeah,
number
10. Yeah. Number 8, Dirty Livin'. 7, 2000 Man. Sure Know Something in 6th place. Then Hard Times, I Was Made for Loving You, Save Your Love, Magic Touch, and Charisma.
So Charisma is Daniel's favorite song on this album.
Yeah.
All right, Ken. Your 10 songs in order.
Number 10 is a mystery song.
Number 9. Let's go Beatles. Number 9.
Insert
number 9,
your
number 9.
title here. Number 9, Save Your Love. Number 8, X-Ray Eyes. Number 7, 2000 Man. Number 6, Dirty Livin'. Number 5, Sure Know Something. Number 4, I Was Made for Loving You. Number 3, Hard Times. Number 2, Magic Touch. And number 1 is Charisma.
Nice. There's a shock. All right, so I'd actually screwed up here and I had to fix that, so thank you all for your patience. Mine were least favorite Magic Touch.
What?
What?
Ooh.
Ooh.
Hiss.
Followed by Hard Times,
Oh, what?
Dirty Living, Sure Know Something, X-Ray Eyes, I Was Made for Loving You, 2000 Man. Number 2 is Charisma, and my favorite of favorites, my favoritist, Save Your Love. So
Wow.
you can now all call me an idiot. Well, what's new, but
That's all right.
there we go. So as we do the math on this, we're going to count down from least favorite to most favorite and talk about each one of these songs. This represents the KissFAQ panel, and it's completely unbiased, unweighted.
Completely correct.
In 9th place, our least favorite song on Dynasty, X-Ray Eyes. Daniel.
Yeah, X-Ray Eyes. I think the chorus is pretty good, but there are a few things that aren't that good on this song. For example, they play piano during the verses. It really doesn't fit the song. And they tried, I guess at the time it was high tech, some sort of laser effect that comes over and over again in the song.
X-ray.
And it really, yeah, exactly. It doesn't sound that cool. So I don't think do you call it the production of the song or something like that? It doesn't stand the test of time. The chorus is okay, but I think it's just a lazy Gene song. Nothing special. Nothing happens. It's okay. It's better than I remembered it, and you can hear Anton Fig playing the drums at times. Towards the end, there's a drum fill that I've never heard Peter Criss being close to doing. So you can really hear that Peter Criss isn't on this song, but it's an okay song, not too bad.
So what you're saying is it puts the Gene in generic.
Yeah, sort of.
I think I had this one rated the highest, so I'm just going to say nothing about it other than I really do like the vault version of the demo. Ken, X-Ray Eyes.
X-Ray Eyes. It was on my lower end, though. It's not a bad song. I mean, all the songs are. There's no bad song on the album. But we got to rank them somehow. But X-Ray Eyes, I think Gene had some better material that he probably could have used. I know he had better material that he could have used instead of this song. But having said that, it's a good song. Like Daniel said, it has a good chorus. I actually like the effect that Daniel didn't like, that little. I always imagine like someone's taking an X-ray of somebody or something. Anyway, I don't know. Of their eyes, they probably will be blinded too if it's X-ray in their eyes. But anyway, a good song. I could see why it's one of the lower end songs. It's lower on my list too.
Mark, how about you? And we're okay. You actually ranked it higher than Ken and Daniel, but not quite as good as me.
Yeah. Well, I don't mind it. I mean, it's not Gene's worst song ever written, but he only submitted 2 songs for the record, and to think that these were his best 2, I'd be really shocked if they were. But the chorus is good. The piano, I agree with Daniel. It doesn't really suit it too much. I think it would have been better off without the piano in there, and the crazy X-ray effect there, I could do without as well. So, but it's okay. I mean, it has some good singing from Gene. I always thought that Gene sounded like the tone of his voice is really good on this record. I almost kind of wish that there was another song that he would have did on this record, because I thought that his voice was in fine form at this point. So it's kind of a shame that we only get 2 songs.
Yeah, he gets away from the Cookie Monster vocals on this and starts singing again, which really helps. I mean, X-Ray Eyes is okay. I have it in the middle of mine just because, again, there's only 2 Gene songs on this album, so, it's pretty good. All right, let's move on to, in 8th place, Dirty Livin'. And for me, when you think of the 4 songs that Peter had recorded in December 78, Out of Control, Rumble, Dirty Living, and There's Nothing Better, I think there's better songs, and Peter really, this is one album where Peter should have had 2 songs on it, because some of those, Out of Control would have absolutely been fantastic as a Kiss song and made it a 10-song album that's not under 40 minutes in length. So Dirty Living just kind of falls down there in the bottom half for me by default, because I really think there is that much stuff on the album that is stronger. Not that Dirty Living isn't a good song. I love it. I think it's a great stylistic contrast to the other material, and I think it's probably as kind of dancey in the same sense that I Was Made for Loving You is with what they did for it. And they didn't stray too far from his original demo. So I feel bad it's ranked so low, but I guess in every Kiss album, it's a very narrow margin between top half and bottom half. Ken, thoughts on that?
When I first got the album and listened to it, I didn't really care for Dirty Living that much. Over the years, it's grown on me, and I think it's a pretty darn good song, actually. I enjoy it whenever I hear it. I know I do have that extended single of the Dirty Living, which is the more dance type mix and it's a little bit longer, which is cool. It worked. It worked all right. Worked out all right. But I think it's a pretty good song, and it's a great vocal by Peter Criss. Really good vocal, and his drumming seemed fine on it too. So it's a good song.
Yep, only song on which he does drum. Daniel, thoughts on Dirty Living?
Yeah, have you looked at my notes? Because I've written also Out of Control instead, because I think that was a better song. But this is okay as well. This one and X-Ray Eyes are the two that aren't top-notch to me. The rest of the songs are really good. But I think, as Ken said, really good vocals from Peter. I like the kind of strange bass line during the chorus. He goes down and does something. Sounds kind of cool. And but overall, the song it's not evolving that much. It's kind of like too simple and without finesse, and too long. I mean, the final minute of the song is just the same thing repeating itself over and over again almost. So I think they should have made it shorter. And what I do like in the song is the classic Ace, how do you say it, vibrato?
Vibrato, yeah.
Vibrato, yeah. So that's kind of cool in the song. I wish he had that sound on other songs as well, but this is the most... the best vibrato that he does on the album. So that's some cool stuff on this song. Yeah.
Nice, thanks. Mark, what about you?
I kind of like this song. I mean, it always kind of reminded me of something that could have appeared on like a late, 70s like TV show that you'd see, like some kind of like, Starsky and Hutch or something. You'd hear this on there, It definitely has like that kind of pacing to it where it's very upbeat and, I don't know why. The very first time I heard it, it totally reminded me of a television show song. So, but I think Peter sings good. The drumming is obviously him. You can tell a lot of the kind of stylistic playing that he does is all over it. The kind of hi-hat work that he does and stuff like that, which is obviously, when you listen to the other songs, you can pick out, easily the songs that he's not playing on because of that. But I think it's a catchy song. I think it's good that he had a song in there. I mean, we were all saying that, and I agree that there should have maybe been another Peter song. But I'm thinking at that time, his position in the band and how he was getting along with everybody, I think the last thing in the world they were going to give him is another song on this record. So I think he's lucky to even have the one on there. But I agree. I'm Out of Control. I think the demo that he did for that was really good. And I could only imagine how much better it would have been if they all worked on it together and turned it into a real Kiss song.
Yeah, just a matter of kissifying it. All right, so wrapping up the bottom third of the Dynasty album according to the KissFAQ panel, let me just recap where we're at. X-Rise was bottom on 11 points. Boo. Dirty Living scored 14 points. And In 7th place, Sure Knows Something on 16 points. And I don't feel bad about this one at all. Sure Knows Something is just saccharine, pukey, AOR, middle of the road, safe garbage that I absolutely love to pieces on MTV Unplugged. When they did it in '96, then the song finally worked for me, and I'm like, holy shit, that's a really, really good song when you think about it. And I don't know whether it's the production just kind of kills some of that emotion, but Paul just slayed that vocal later on, and I finally went, oh wow, I actually do like that song. So again, it's got to be something's got to be in the bottom half of this this ranking. Mark, let's go straight back to you for Sure Knows Something.
Yeah, I agree. I think the MTV Unplugged version absolutely destroys the album version. I mean, it all goes down to what you just mentioned. It's all about vocal delivery. Like when he's doing it on the acoustic guitar vocals, he's more like, I've been up. He's like more rough housing the vocals, right? And when he does it on the album, it's more like, I've been up. And he's more like all sappy singing it, right? So it definitely makes it sound that much more lighter. And then, you have all these kind of like disco effect on the guitar, bass guitar, all the kind of chorusing and stuff. So it really lightened up the song. If they would have stripped all that stuff away and had him sing it in more of a rougher toned voice, it would have made it for a much more catchier song. I think that's the main problem with it, is that they went for more production more than feel for this one.
Nice. Ken, what about your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, it's about the middle of my list here, and I always thought it was a pretty good song. It's definitely different from their any normal type Kiss song back then. So yeah, it was a stretch kind of, but I enjoyed the background vocals and that sort of thing when they, harmonize, and I kind of like that kind of stuff. So the disco-y, semi-disco feel of it, I didn't need that kind of thing. But yeah, 96 when they did it Unplugged, it a better realized version of the song. But it's a good song.
Daniel.
Yeah, when they recorded this one in '95, it was a hell of a lot better. But I still think it's a good song. And as Mark said, the vocals are a bit soft or sappy or whatever you call them. It could have been a lot better. But it still sings great. And I always listen to the bass line in this one. I think it kind of resembles Detroit Rock City to some extent. You start like humming the bass line, do. And I really like that one. I think it's a cool bass line, much like it is in Detroit Rock City. A good bass line that really doesn't follow the chords that much. So a good song, but on my list it was at number 6. So I think it's somewhere towards the end of the album when it comes to quality, but it's a good song.
Talking of number 6, in 6th place on our panel ranking with 17 points, I'm very disappointed to announce 2000 Men. Ouch. I ranked this 3rd, and everyone else had it much lower than me. So let's see who ranked it lowest. Ken or Daniel? We'll just go with Ken first.
Yeah, I ranked it pretty low. Yeah, it's another one that I didn't care for that much. But it's gotten better over time. But I didn't think they needed to do it. First of all, they didn't need to do a cover. Ace seemed to be writing pretty good songs around that time period. I don't even know why. I know Ace brought it in, but I was kind of surprised by it. Though they did improve over the Rolling Stone version. If you ever heard the Rolling Stone version, it's much better than the Rolling Stone version, which is surprising. But it's just not one of my favorite songs. I just, I can take it or leave it. But it's good. I mean, it's good, but not great kind of thing. So that's why it ranks lower on my list.
Daniel.
Well, it was they tried to repeat the success of New York Groove from Ace's solo album, putting on a cover on the album. But that's a big minus to start things off. I think it's a cover, and even though it's a lot better than the Rolling Stones song, what kind of crap is that? One of their worst songs ever. So it's
Too
kind
much
of
acid.
yeah, too much acid. But I think it's kind of a lazy solo. Cool ending with Ace screaming out, "Yeah, 2000," and he sings well on this song as well. But nothing special.
So that's why I like it so much. I think Ace's vocal is absolutely fantastic on
Yeah.
that. The tone of the guitars is absolutely fantastic on that. And then again, what else would they have been able to perform from Ace's, contributions during the tour later on? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Hard Times, they're not going to do that. Save Your Love, they're not going to do it. So it at least comes into the Kiss catalog and Ace's catalog as something that's very performable live. The version on Satanic's Majesties, Jesus. Yeah, this is certainly one case in which Ace brought this song in absolutely like this, pretty, in terms of how it was realized, and he nailed it. He really kissified it or aceified it, and that's why I rank it third. And I've also suggested that it would be a good song to, be at the top of the album rather than I Was Made. Mark, your thoughts on 2000 Man?
Yeah, I mean, I think my one problem with it is much like what the other guy said, is that it's a cover song, and Ace, I think at that point, was really doing well with his own material. I mean, honestly, I like the other songs on the record that he wrote better than 2000 Man. So I think that if he would have just put in another one of his own songs, I think it would have been even that much more stronger. Now, keep in mind, I do like 2000 Man. I think it's another song that they also did good on the MTV Unplugged. I thought that was a pretty good version of the song as well. And, I agree, Ace sings it really good on album as well. I mean, there's not really much on my end of it to point to a negative, except just for the fact that I think that he could have did better putting his own material. I like his original material on this better than the cover. That's it.
Okay. In fifth place, we have a shocker. I Was Made for Loving You. I guess middle of the road ain't a bad place to be, especially if you want to get hit by traffic in both directions. But 19 points is all that I Was Made for Loving You got. And again, I think it's a great song. It's very well crafted. It's very well structured. It's very well executed. And I think perhaps it's very much overthought and kind of shows it. I mean, it seems to be lacking any of that kind of emotional, it just happened. It's like it's calculated. It's like a math equation. It's totally not rock and roll. It's not organic in any sense. So, as far as a Kiss song goes, it's a great Kiss song. It was a hit all over the place. And I'm not going to denigrate it in any way. It just, compare that to Love Gun.
Oh, yeah.
You can't. So, Mark, I Was Made for Loving You. Where did you have this one? This is your
Last.
least favorite. Yeah.
Yeah, well, because, for me, it's just a song that I've just heard way too much. I mean, even, like I said, back when I was much younger, I heard it way too much, even back then when it came out. But it also, when listening back to this record the last couple of days, because I have been listening to this record quite a bit, actually, even before I found out that we were doing this. The thing that bothers me about this song is some of the things that we mentioned in some of the other songs. Like, I don't like that whole pew thing that they do in the breakdown section, those little firework effects that they do there, and the tom roll is kind of cheesy with the effect on it. And also, I gotta say, out of all of Ace's guitar solos, this is the one that I like the least. It's very quick, and it's done before you even know it. I mean, it just has all the ingredients of a song that I don't really like, and I mean, sure, I understand from reading the book that Paul couldn't hit that middle part in full voice, so he had to do it in falsetto, but man, did that ever really lean it over to the disco side of things when he starts singing like that, right?
Yeah, it kind of set the path towards Just a Boy. Ken.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's ranked 4 on my list, so I liked it. While I didn't care for them going in that direction, like you said, Julian, there's not a lot of emotion attached to it. Paul said, I know I can write a disco song. I'm just going to write one. I know how they do it. It's only these certain amount of beats per minute and blah, 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 follow that, method or whatever of writing. And yeah, I don't think there was any emotion to this song as far as he met a girl and, he said, I was made for loving you, kind of thing or whatever. It got him. He thought of that, not like also what you said, Giant Love Gun is really, a more kind of heavy, passionate kind of, song. So otherwise than that, I mean, it's just a well-written song. That's why it did so well, and why Mark was so tired of it, because I think it was like number 2 or 1 in Canada, I believe. And though I really think though that UK always gets it right, and I think UK was like 50 or something like that. I mean, it was real low. I mean, it was just real low, and here did pretty well. 11, I think it was. So it's a good song. I can't negate that. It's just the way it is. And that's why it's ranked up high. I mean, I enjoy listening to it. I'm kind of tired of it, but it's still good.
It's probably the song I would like removed from the End of the Road set list the most. But in terms of chart action, it went to number 11 in the U.S. Austria had number 6, Australia number 2, Canada number 1, France number 3, Germany number 2, Holland number 1, Italy 10, Norway 10, New Zealand number 1, Sweden 19, Switzerland 2, and the UK 50. But if you get a chance, go on YouTube and find some of Gene's Vault songs and story sections, because he mocks the hell out of I Was Made for Loving You and how much he hated it. He's like, well, Paul writes a love song and it's, I was made for loving you. Oh, darling, I'd hold you in my arms tonight. And Gene's like, I was made for loving you. I got to take you, log in the fireplace. That kind of attitude. So, it's very funny, and he hates this song. So just know that while Paul's out on his mini stage, Gene is suffering. Daniel, your thoughts on the song?
Well, you really have to listen to the Hot in the Shade version, from the Hot in the Shade tour, or from the Revenge tour. To those versions give justice to this song. It has the possibility of being a real rocker live. Nowadays, I'm not so sure, but back in the 90s, it sounded terrific. And it was kind of a revelation for me to hear that one live. I never thought of it as such a good song, but when I heard it in the 90s live, I really heard the potential of the song, and it's really good live. But this version on Dynasty, again, with the album, it sounds so soft, and I think you mentioned it, Mark. The drum rolls sounds like he's hitting buckets. It's almost as bad as that Metallica album, Saint Anger. The drum sound, it sounds horrible, and that kind of kills the song for me on this album. But I had it in 4th place.
Yeah, calling the percussion on Saint Anger drums is a crime against drums. So we actually had a tie. There's another song on 19 points, but I decided to put that in 4th place just because I'm utterly biased and I have a fake news agenda. So in 4th place on 19 points also, Save Your Love, which is, of course, the best Ace Frehley song ever written. No, I love it. That's why I put it ahead of I Was Made for Loving You. It's the one song I had been waiting and waiting and waiting for Ace to do live, and it's probably the high point for Kiss Cruise 8 for me, that he finally did do it live. And, it's just a shame. They go out on tour in 1979 for the Return of Kiss, and I Was Made for Loving You's in the set, and 2000 Man's in the set. There's a lot of other good songs on this album that didn't get a shout live, and this is one of them. Though I don't know how well that would work in terms of how it stylistically is compared to the rest of the Kiss set. So I love Save Your Love. I love playing it on guitar when I'm in that kind of kissy mood. I'm always going to hit those riffs and start singing it. And, glad it's in fourth place, simply as a tiebreaker over I Was Made for Loving You. Ace, you got it. Daniel, Save Your Love.
Yeah, it's also a favorite from this album. I had it in third place, and it's like it would have fitted perfectly on the Ace Frehley solo album a year earlier, because it's as good as his best songs on that album, I think. Rip It Out, Speeding Back to My Baby, and those kind of songs. This is in the same vein, and I really like it. And Ace, as he does on every song on this album, sings his heart out. I think he sings real well. People say he's singing better now than ever. It's not true. This was his, pinnacle when it comes to singing, I think. The drum parts makes me think of another album. This time it's not Saint Anger. This time it's an old Wasp album. If you've ever heard, like Crimson Idol, where Blackie had this crazy drummer who made a lot of drum rolls. And in this song, Anton Figs goes kind of crazy. What?
That was Frankie Banali on Crimson.
Yeah, maybe it was Frankie. Yeah, but drum rolls and you can really tell it's not Peter on the. I think it's on the chorus. It does almost like it sounds like he has double kick drums or something. A really fast song, and it's kind of a metal song, this one, and one of my favorites as well.
Mark, what are your thoughts on Save Your Love?
Well, I don't know. I don't mind this song, but just I think, and this is really being nitpicky, I think, but I just didn't like. I never liked that really low voice in the chorus that happens there. Save your love. I was like, it's just on headphones. It really bothers me hearing that. I mean, that's, like I said, that's just being really nitpicky. But it's not a bad song. I mean, again, in comparison to the three that he has on there, I like Hard Times much better. But it's still a good song, and I agree. He sings good on this. I think this time period is probably his best vocal time. This, and even on Unmasked, I think he's really good on there too. He wrote a lot of good stuff, and he's singing really good on that as well. But it's just a matter of you have to pick something. One, like you said before, something has to be in first place, something has to be in last place, right? To me, I do like his original stuff always better than the covers, but I do think, though, for some reason, this is my least favorite of the three songs that he's done on the record.
Interesting. Well, Ken, you ranked this the lowest, and according to your ranking, you hate Save Your Love.
I don't hate it. Actually, I don't hate it. Actually, the last three songs on my list could be interchangeable up and down. It changes from time to time what I like better or not on this album anyway. So, but yeah, I put it as at the bottom, and it's still a good song. I mean, I enjoy it. The lead guitar solo in that is pretty darn good. Mark's saying about that low voice thing kind of thing. Yeah, it was kind of goofy. I think it was a precursor to The Elder or something like that. That part, something from the, anyway, Under the Rose or whatever. But, right, yeah. So, it's good. It's bottom for me, but it's still a good song. It's still a good song.
Yeah, it's all relative. Bottom ranking Kiss song on an album. We're still talking about it for 15 minutes. Yeah. All right, let's go into third place on 20 points. Hard Times, B-side to the I Was Made for Loving You single. I actually prefer the single version of that. It's a different mix, and it's got the proper ending, and it came out on the Casablanca singles box set a few years ago. That was the part that made me happy, is that it was on the CD single. I was like, okay, great, digital copy of that finally, after many years. You know, as far as a song goes, I rank this second from bottom. And again, I'm going to use Ken's logic that something had to be down at the bottom, and there's just songs I prefer. But if we were going to do this ranking tomorrow, I bet every single one of us would have a different listing than we did today. So it's simply a matter of I don't happen to care for it, but I think it's also having a song like Dirty Living and Hard Times on the same album is probably a bit too much real for Kiss to handle, especially as they started to go more into the 7-year-old demographic at this point. So, a bit too straight. But it's a fantastic song. Love it when Ace does it live. Enjoy it now a heck of a lot more than I did when I first heard it on the album. So it's one that has grown on me. Daniel, Hard Times.
Yeah, I had it in number 5. At number 5, and the drum feel in the beginning is really uncharacteristic for Peter Criss. So you can hear instantly that it's someone else doing the drumming, and it sounds like, again, something from Ace's record in '78. Perfect song for Ace, plain rocker. Exactly what you want, and exactly what you want to hear from Ace. But I'm nagging about this, I know, but I could do without the whistles and that cheesy instrument. I'm not sure what it is. There's some sound they add. It sounds really bad, but then you have some cool echo effect on his screams. So it's a really good song. But once again, you said that it was such a great sounding album. That's why I have to nitpick on everything I don't like about the way this album sounds. Just they went a little bit overboard when it comes to 70s effects, I think.
Fair enough. Ken, your thoughts on Hard Times?
Yeah, Hard Times I ranked very high. Right? So it's a very good song. Again, like I said, I played that B-side single, and yeah, I agree that the single version is better, had a better ending than the album version. I kind of remember missing it when I heard it on the album. Like, wait a minute, they took. It's not the same. This I got used to listening to the single version, so it's a great song. I just think of that. If any song sounds like New York, that one really sounds like New York to me. Definitely. And it's a great song. I love it.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, I totally agree. I love the single version of it as well. And I think Ace, sings it really well. I think the guitar playing is really good on this song as well. I agree though, the whistle is a little tacky in there. And some of the, I'm not sure if the effects that they were trying in was just their attempt at trying to become more current or more up to date, because on a lot of other different records that was happening too. A lot of people were using whistles and vibra slaps and all kinds of different kind of effects to I guess for ear candy sake. But Kiss is a band that I think people are more used to sounding like Rock and Roll Over, like that, which is my favorite record. More raw, not really relying on kind of trickery like that, just playing their stuff loud and getting it on tape, right? But it's a good song, Hard Times. I think that this is kind of like you mentioned, Ace's version of Dirty Living, like his story put the music, right? Kind of like what Peter did with his song, right? And I agree, though, being that they were trying to go for the super Kiss, let's appeal to families now as opposed to just, guys maybe that wasn't the best lyrical topic to put on a record, but I think it's a good song.
Nice. Okay, so in second place, despite my best efforts by having this as my least favorite song on the album, while you guys talk nicely about Magic Touch, I'm just going to go bang my head against the wall. I have never liked this. I was thrilled, though, when Paul performed it in 2006 as part of his solo tour, because it was a deep cut that he pulled out of the closet, literally. And that's really all I can say positive about it. I'm glad he performed it live, and it's just so fucking gaggy. No. I mean, appealing to the moms. I mean, all I see is like mom jeans in my head right now. It's like crossing over into AOR safety, Magic Touch. No, I want Gene to come in and co-write this and get a fucking log in the fireplace, because it's just... Ken, your thoughts on Magic Touch?
Well, I like the song. I think it's good, even though it's appealing to moms or whatever. It's just a great, well-written song. A really good chorus. Paul sings it fantastic. Fantastic vocal. And yes, when he did it live, I think it was, again, a lot of their songs, again, always sound better live. They're more realized that way. So that one, when he did it live on his solo tour, it was just fantastic. And I couldn't believe that it could be better than it was already on the album. So it's a very good song. Again, I would have made it the second single. That's what I would have done with it. So, song again.
Fair enough. Daniel, Magic Touch.
Well, I had it in second place, so I think it's classic Paul Stanley. The song is much in the same vein as Hide Your Heart or A Million to One. Those songs, not really a ballad, but not really a rocker either, somewhere in between.
Right.
It's a perfect mix between rock and a ballady sound. Kind of a soft song at times. He has the falsetto singing in this one as well, but it never gets wimpy, It's very well thought out, it's varied, it has different parts, and it's good that we have the live version on Live to Win, the DVD, because that's a good one. So I think it has every ingredient that makes up a good song, a good Paul Stanley song. I really like this one.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of falsetto and his singing, it's certainly better than My Way. Mark?
I had a number one. It's still my favorite song off this record, mainly because I really love the riffs in this. I mean, this is one of those examples where you were saying, Julian, that you take out your guitar and play, to save your love when you get a chance and you're in the mood. Sometimes when I'm, playing on my guitar and just working on something, every once in a while that riff will just come out of me. I just think it sounds really cool, and especially if you play it down a tone like I play on my guitars, it sounds so much more heavier too, right? The song has the potential, if you were to approach it from that way, to be a much more heavier song if approached that way, right? So there we go. He's going to be rocking it out now. But yeah, I think that it's a very catchy song. A lot of the guitar parts in there are very strong. I think the vocals are very good. The lyrical content is typical Paul syrup in this. But what do we expect really from Paul at this point? I mean, a lot of his songs are down this path. If we even get this more of the same on the next record too, right? So, but I think from a guitar player's point of view, I think that's one of the reasons why it hooked, lined, and sinkered me, was because I really thought that those riffs were outstanding in there. And I love the way that the drums play with it. Something that Peter Criss obviously didn't drum on here, because I love the interplay between the rhythm guitar and the guitar playing. And that's something, the drumming and the rhythm guitar playing, that's something that they do in Kiss, but this is a little bit stronger example of it.
Yeah, I think Paul's probably going in the right direction in terms of his kind of poppy undertones, which I think are fully realized on Unmasked with Tomorrow. You know, we'll have to do a album refocused episode on that. You know, probably in May, because that's also the anniversary month for Unmasked. But for me, I think Tomorrow is just superior in every single way in terms of its balance, its vocal delivery, the musical underlying track, and the production. Whereas this one, because he goes into the stratosphere in some parts, it's almost like he's stretching himself a little bit too much, just for my personal taste. It's a good song, but there we are. All right, so let's recap where we're at before we get to the KissFAQ panel's favorite song off Dynasty. And from least favorite to favorite, in 9th place, X-Ray Eyes. 8th, Dirty Living. 7, Sure Know Something. 6, 2000 Man. 5, I Was Made for Loving You. 4, Save Your Love. 3, Hard Times. 2, Magic Touch, which leaves in our favorite song is Charisma, which Mark, tell me about Charisma, because Project Gemini has, of course, recorded a cover of this.
Yeah, actually, it's one of those songs that definitely stuck in my mind the very first time I heard it. Again, a really strong riff, very simple, but so catchy. I mean, a lot of Gene's best songs are like that, you just think of songs like, Calling Dr. Love, or, anything along those lines that just has a real simple guitar playing in it. As long as it doesn't have to be complicated to be catchy. The less complicated, the better. And I think this song definitely has that. And I really like the singing in this. That's one of the things that caught my attention on this, was the vocals in this. I really liked it, and I thought that it would be something that would be a bit of a challenge for me to do on there as well. And I also like Ace's solo. It's typically Ace, but it has a couple of little things in there that are not too common in there. That bend that he does in the very beginning is really strange, how he just bends it. It's just like really not his kind of style of doing it, but it really suits it really well. I think it's a fantastic song, and I think that the production suits this song really good. The drums sound really punchy and catchy on here. Just everything about this to me just screams catchy song. And if they would have put it out as a single, I think that they wouldn't have did too bad with it. I mean, didn't they end up making like some sort of a television appearance with this in Mexico or something? Didn't they?
Yeah, 1981. That was what they lip-synced, because it had been popular there, I believe. So, and it's much for those same things that you said. The first time I heard this, just the chugging rhythm of it, I think it's much more kind of dancey than I Was Made for Loving You. It's just, I always get going with this song. This is the one song that was always on my deep cut list for Gene to do until he went out on his solo tour. And when I heard Simple Type, which, this was developed out of, you hear that same sort of chunking rhythm. I just love it to pieces. I mean, Mark and I both had this as our second favorite song. Ken, you and Daniel both had it as your favorite song on the album. Ken, why?
It's simple. It is simple, like Mark said, and lots of times, that's the best songs. I mean, even something like you could still go down the road with, Lick It Up. That's a very simple song, and it did very well. Yeah, in Gene's songs, Gene just has a knack for writing great little riffs, and this song and his vocal that went along with it are just perfect. And it's not your typical Gene song. It doesn't sound like any other Gene song, really. But it's him. It's his name. He's all over it. With his lyrics, of course, and then the lead guitar, the Ace Frehley guitar solo is again like he does with lots of. He seems to write very good lead guitar solos for Gene songs. I don't know what it is, but Dr. Love again is of course probably the best guitar solo done for a single kind of thing, in my opinion. But the Charisma guitar solo is fantastic. Another great, memorable solo. So the whole song works for me. It just from beginning to end I never get tired of it.
All right, Daniel, wrap us up with your thoughts on Charisma, and then we'll just do two quick final questions.
Okay, well, you like playing Magic Touch, and I like playing. I mean, it's so cool to play this one, and it's pretty easy to sing the verses because they're pretty low, and I like the contrast between Gene going kind of into demon mode during the verses, and then the choruses are almost like a child song, something like "Are you sleeping, brother John?" or something. It's kind of a fun song. It's good. It's a real good song. It's funny at the same time because the lyrics are totally hilarious. Of course, typically
tongue in cheek. Kind of.
Yeah, tongue in cheek. Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot to like about this song, and it stands out from the rest on the album because it's kind of like, as you said, as Dr. Love. I mean, simple riff, but you can't. I mean, it's so catchy. You remember it instantly, and. I really loved the way it sounded when he played it live with his solo band. So it was cool to hear it at least once live.
That's cool.
I totally geeked out in Edmonton when they did
Yeah,
it.
me too.
And that was a short set, so if that had not been there, I would have feel like a real butt munch going all the way there and not hearing anything cool. All right, so let's wrap up with two more final questions about this album. And it's basically, revolves around if they did a 40th anniversary, vinyl package or, digital or whatever, number one, what color vinyl would you want this to be in? And number two, what would you like to see on the package? So let's start with you on that.
Yeah, well, if it is a vinyl color, and which they may do, because the way they're releasing things, as long as they don't do it like the current Kiss album, then it'll be fine. So I was thinking, there was a red pipe version in the old days, but I don't want red, so maybe some red in it. I was thinking maybe white, stark white with red in it, red swirl or something like in the white. Otherwise, also in the package, maybe you do the posters, an alternate poster with the
Straight jackets.
Yeah, straight jackets. Also put in one or two singles, or put one single that's a colored vinyl. But what you do on it, it could be the longer version of "I Was Made for Loving You" and a longer version of "Dirty Livin" on the other side, kind of thing.
Interesting. It's funny that you mentioned white vinyl because when they did the originals box in 1999 in Japan, it was white vinyl.
Right. I think I have that. Yeah, you're right. I think it is white vinyl. So,
and
what do you know?
And Germany issued back in Bellafon days in '79. They had the red vinyl version. So, yeah, I kind of like that. And of course, Germany also did a pink vinyl pressing of the "I Was Made for Loving You" single. So that's my color. If they do it on vinyl, translucent pink, just like that single was, and it's
interesting.
And they had different shades, obviously, from the variants in the pressing, but I love that like hot pink, kind of translucent pink that they did. So I would also want Peter's demos, if they were recorded for this album.
They're gonna do.
Put those on. Put the extended remixes of "Dirty Livin'," "Charisma," and "I Was Made for Loving You." And I always remember way back when Alex Carranza had the FAQ, he was asked about Dynasty when the remasters were coming out, and had said that he had heard a whole bunch of different versions of I Was Made for Loving You. So I wouldn't mind some of those. And also Ace has said that he recorded 2 different versions of 2000 Man, one with a more new wave-ish kind of style, or maybe, whatever the other version was that he demoed, put that on. And then, of course, get those 2 demos of Gene's songs from the vaults and put them on. I think you have a really good deluxe package. So those on CD, the vinyl pressing, and Bob's Your Uncle. You got a really fucking cool album to celebrate the 40th anniversary of what is essentially a double platinum album by this point, more than likely. Daniel.
Well, I'm not buying the same Kiss music once again just because it's on yellow or blue or green color. I will never do that. So what I'm looking for is new stuff that hasn't been released. So the demos, the Peter Criss demos, in mint condition would be great to hear. Other renditions of the songs, of course. Anything like that would be cool to hear. But just putting up the same old once again on a cool looking disc, it's not for me. But I do respect that there are other Kiss fans that buy the same stuff over and over again. That's why we get it, That's why we get the same stuff all the time.
Well, fortunately, the Peter Criss demos do circulate in pristine condition, but I'd still like to actually buy them properly. That's always nice. Mark, what would your thoughts be on a 40th anniversary edition?
Well, me and my love of these kind of ultra deluxe sets like I have in my collection with my King Crimson stuff, and that's kind of like what I would hope they can do with this, which I know they won't, but do the vinyl like you guys said, do the singles and stuff like that. But more than that, I kind of agree with what Daniel said. Let's put in something that's not so common. Put in maybe like a couple of DVDs and things. I love how they had those boxes, how they have the vinyl and they have CD in with it as well now, where you can put in a couple of DVDs of some shows that they might have on that they've recorded from some of the tours. I know Dynasty tour isn't exactly their finest hour, but still, there were probably a couple of decent shows that they could put on there, and they were doing some of the solo material there, so it might be nice to have a better looking footage of a concert from then too, right? And then you had some of those things circling around too, where they had the makings of the record, that gargantuan 12-hour thing that I saw on YouTube once, where they're going through all those songs, but not obviously keep it that long, but just do like a real edited version of some of the makings of and stuff like that, because I know that people are into that as well, like how the songs were created and how they sounded when they were first made and stuff like that. There's so much potential for this kind of stuff for bands to do, and I'm happy that a lot of my bands that I'm into do that now, but I'm always saddened by the fact that Kiss is one of the bands that are always late to this party. Like, come on, man, give us some ultra deluxe boxes with some concerts and some unheard stuff. Like, we know you have it. Just come on, put it out there.
Yeah, so Mark's really saying that he wants 12 hours of teaching demos. All right, let's leave that there. This is 90 minutes, and that's more than enough for one album. All right, so if you've stuck with us this far, chime in with, what is your favorite song off this album? Give us your track order. What would you like as a deluxe edition were Kiss to actually do a deluxe edition? And, with how these vinyl pressings are coming out, we've just had the Kiss Alive or Kiss 45 Marble edition come out. That there are more coming, so what color would you like Dynasty? And I'm not too sure about matte covers. That I didn't realize when I ordered mine, so I'm at least glad that I waited until way after everyone else, because now they may actually cherry pick a nice barbelish one to send me, or I'll get a return and it'll be a solid white thing with
one
black dot. All right, that's it for this week. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me. So thank you for listening, and from Ken, from Daniel, from Mark and myself, we'll see you next time. Bye. Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final, there are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we've broadcast today. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes, Spreaker, or wherever you've listened to the show. We hope you'll join us again.